Hello, MavMind Collective, and welcome to another episode of the HypnoSales Show. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 ways to stop using filler words. So if you're like me in a customer-facing role, typically you're expected to present more formal presentations from time to time to your customers, clients, your prospects. Most of the other times, however, you're typically presenting to them informally. And in those informal presentations, there's a subconscious tendency for all of us, including myself, to use filler words, to fill in the gaps, those pauses with words like and ah, like, you know, or like me, maybe you have a certain specific word that you overuse. Like a long time ago, when I first started doing presentations, I used the word basically at the beginning of every sentence that I had. I was more in a more technical role, and I was explaining technical how-tos, how things work. Basically, it works like this. Basically, this is how you approach it. Basically, you want to think of it like this. And I use basically a lot. And I even had a customer actually tell me offline, one-on-one, hey, I noticed you're using that word basically a lot. It's like a crutch. You use it like a crutch, Maverick. And I could tell that they were getting a little annoyed by the fact that I was using that word over and over again. I was overusing it to the point that every time I spoke with them or presented to them or even demoed to them, they would notice that word and they would tune out what I was actually saying. They weren't paying attention to the meaning or the words I was using. They were only paying attention to the fact that I was using that filler word over and over again. So I knew I had to work on it, and I think all of us need to work on this in those informal settings. So that's why I have these 3 ways that I've learned, and I wanted to share them with you today in the lesson. So the first one is mimicking audience. So a mimicking audience, what this is you get 3 or more people to help you with it, 2 or 3. Usually you want that many or more. Get on a Zoom with you, be in an audience in person if you decide to do that. And you instruct the audience to mimic you as soon as you say a filler word. So the moment that you say a filler word like like, you know, basically, typically, whatever it is for you, whatever your filler words that you want to work, you instruct them to repeat it back to you immediately, right when you say it. And what this does is it's like a form of shock therapy where you start to present to them and you unconsciously, subconsciously say, and then all of a sudden everyone interrupts you right at that moment and they all go, all together. And it startles you and it scares you, and because you don't realize you just said, but then as soon as they say it, they make you aware. They bring it into your conscious awareness at that exact moment that you say it. And if you're like me, when I was doing this the first time I used this technique, I would go, like every other word was, you know, and then the whole audience was just, over and over again. And it just really raised the awareness for me. And within about 10 minutes, I felt like I was fairly cured because I was so afraid to be assaulted with all of these ums and ahs from the audience that I started to think about it. Do I really want to say it? Am I going to say it? And I would stop myself. Right before. So becoming aware of it with the mimicking audience technique is a really well-known technique. A lot of companies use it, and I encourage you to try it as well. I think you might shock yourself into not saying the filler words anymore by using that technique. The second technique is called intentional pausing. And what this is, it's simply forcing yourself to consciously pause between certain words and phrases. So many words. You say so many words, and you pause in between, and it helps you to become aware of what you're going to say next, gives you time to think about what you're going to say. It also gives your audience some time to absorb what you're saying too. So it's actually beneficial for the audience if you can use this technique. By pausing intentionally, it can be dramatic, but it also, you can think about what you're going to say, and you're less likely to insert a filler word. And it makes you look more polished too sometimes, because you're being very intentional about what you're actually saying. So it doesn't feel like it's off the cuff. In some ways, it feels like it's more polished than it actually is. So you can see I just used that technique through that little section there, and I encourage you to try that as well. Just force yourself to pause, because subconsciously, when you take over with your conscious effort to pause, your subconscious doesn't have room to inject an unconscious filler word when you're consciously pausing, just like I'm doing right now. Okay, so the last one is custom self-hypnosis. So, of course, I'm a hypnosales expert. I'm going to share something that has to do with hypnosis in this lesson because it makes sense. Now, I say custom because there's really not very many scripts, if at all, that help you with removing ums and ahs, likes, you knows from your unconscious awareness into your conscious awareness. There's not a lot of, see, I'm doing it right now, I'm thinking about it because I'm not really sure how to describe this other than to just say that you're better off creating your own custom hypnosis, self-hypnosis tape. So imagine recording into your phone or on a Zoom call, record just with you on a Zoom, and then get the audio recording, put it on your phone and listen to it every night before you go to bed and every morning when you wake up. Twice a day for 1 week, 7 days in a row. You do this twice a day. It will remove these and ah tendencies from your speech. So in your script, you'll want to do a standard induction to relax yourself, so you can get that from standard scripts that are available on the web, out on the intranet. And then you just want to write the specific filler words that you use and just tell your subconscious to become aware the moment that you think you're going to say or ah, you become aware consciously. So you have an opportunity to stop yourself. That's all it is. It's very simple. As soon as you tell your subconscious, as soon as you become aware that you're about to say or ah or like or basically or whatever the word is that is your filler words could be multiple ones. The moment you're about to say X, Y, Z words, you will stop yourself and you'll say it to yourself in your mind. So you give it a replacement action. That's key. You don't want to just have it not do it because your subconscious doesn't understand a habit like that where you fill in the words and then suddenly you're not going to do it. It doesn't understand that, but it will understand a replacement action. Like instead of saying the filler word out loud, say the filler word to yourself in your mind at a split second. So the moment you become aware of it, you will say it to yourself in your mind and you will avoid saying it out loud. You'll say it to yourself in your mind instead. And then after listening to that self-hypnosis tape, this custom one you're making with your own voice, because you're going to trust your own voice more than somebody else's voice anyway, you'll listen to yourself twice a day, morning and night, for 7 days. Your subconscious will start to process this. And you're basically reprogramming your subconscious to avoid saying those filler words and using those filler words out loud. You'll still be using them. They'll just be in your mind. You're replacing it, where you say it in your mind instead of out loud. So those are the 3 ways. I know you found this useful and helpful, and I would encourage you right now to share it with someone else that you think could use this lesson to help them stop saying all these filler words and therefore perfecting their presentation skills and their communication skills in their customer-facing role, just like we have. And until then, I want to thank you for your time watching this episode, and I can't wait to share the next episode on the HypnoSales Show. Until then, we'll see y'all later. Thanks.